Record. All right, recording in progress. So we are doing assignment 3, which is chapter 7, part 2. If you haven't already started your script for that, please do so now. And then I'm going to get to the top of my screen. And the first thing I want to do is there are different types of variables in Linux. There are shell variables, there's environmental variables, there are user-defined variables, and there's also a bunch of other stuff. Sometimes I get confused about which is which, and I have to look it up regularly. So if you find yourself confused about the different kinds of variables, you're in good company. I think I'm good company. We're going to check out a function named set, and we are going to pipe set over to less, because what set will do otherwise, set will stream all of the variables it knows, and it knows a lot of variables. So we're just going to pipe it into less. And we can see, for example, bash. Remember we looked up where bash was the other day with which? It's in my computer, it's user bin bash. Sometimes it's just user bash. There is another shell that's often used with shell scripting called sh, which is a simpler version of bash that works quicker for shell scripts. So with shell scripts, I find that it doesn't really matter for most of what a normal human like me does in Linux. I could use bash or sh and they'll run just fine. If you're doing some really high-end, powerful computing stuff with shell scripts, you would probably want to use sh because it runs a bit faster than bash does for running a script. Every time you run a shell script, it basically loads a new shell within a shell to run that script. Okay. And we'll find that out as we're playing with variables. There's a shitload of other variables. If you scroll through there, it also has functions that are loaded into the system, into memory to be used. Those are functions streaming by right now. Okay, there's a lot of them. Okay, so we're going to do something a little different to check some things. So quit out of here because we're in less right now. Q to quit. And we're going to compare that to env. So env is another command line program that looks up environmental variables that are defined. And we're going to also pipe that to less. And you should see it's similar but different. Here, shell is called bin bash. And I looked up this before. My bin bash and user bin bash there's a link between them. They're not two different programs. I can see my home directory, my username in there, my ls colors. Some of that was in the other, what set looked up. So set and env share some of the same variables. But I just found the end of env. Whereas before I was holding down the down arrow key on my keyboard for 30 seconds, and I was not near the end of what set was giving me. All right. So in env, I'm seeing the variables that are defined for my current shell environment. With set, I'm seeing pretty much all the variables that are defined for the Linux system. Okay. Let's double check a couple other things. Up arrow twice. And then what I want to do, instead of piping it to less, I'm going to pipe it to WC, which is word count, and then a -L. I want to count how many lines are in that file, is what that will do for me. 7,659 files in my set utility, which is, again, looking up all the environmental variables, all the shell variables, all the functions that are defined into memory, and probably a couple other things I don't remember.
That's just word count.
That's line count, not word count. Oh. Yeah, if we do word count, that would be without the -L. You're going to get a much bigger number. So it gives me
If you just do WC, it gives you a line count too.
Yeah, so it's given, yeah, but sometimes I like just the line count. I don't want to see everything. So there's line count, something count, and word count. I can't remember what the other one is. Yeah.
Hey, just curious, what does just W do by itself?
W, I think, shows all users who are logged into the system. Is that right?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll look. Should we divergent? Okay, after we do a couple more things, I'm gonna put Nathan on the server, and then we'll all log into the server and do W, and then I'll show you another cute trick on the server. All right, so we'll come back to that. So let's also do a line count on ENV. So I'm going to ENV instead of less. I'm just going to do a WC, and then I'm going to do -L. So I just want to see how many lines are in there. There's only 47 lines in there. Okay, which means 47 variables are defined and listed. And again, everyone's system is going to be a little bit different. So if I do this in my my VM with Fedora server, it'll look slightly different. So it depends on use of your system and what distribution you have. Okay, let's look up a specific variable. So do an echo. Actually, I want to look at some variables first. So let's do bring up this env one because it's shorter. So env with less. And I have a log name in there. There should be a username in there. Yep. All right, let's look up a couple things. So if you just want to look up, there's a variable about something and you just want to know about it, you can use echo to get its current setting. If you look up a variable, although you set variables by typing a name, tradition is to make it all caps to distinguish it from a file name, for example. So if I just did echo username, echo will say username. Okay. My username is really Gary, so if I want to see that, I have to put a $ in front to say, no, I want the variable username. And I'll say, oh, okay, the variable username stores the value Gary. Okay. My command prompt right now has my username at the host name, tilde is a short for my home directory, and then whatever subdirectory I'm in. Yours may look different. This is defined in either your bash RC file or your profile on your system. So let's do an echo on $PS1.
This can't move like cap sensitive, like doesn't matter.
Everything in Linux is case sensitive unless you ask it to not be. So yeah. So if I go back and do username like this, I get nothing. It's empty. Okay. If I wanted there to be a username, then double check my syntax on that. I think it's just set. Oh no, I can just do username equals, I'm going to call myself Coach Parker today. And then I can go echo space $username lowercase. So now I have a shell variable defined. So just for fun, give it a try. Type lowercase username equals, and then give yourself a special name for today.
I don't know.
And again, it is case sensitive. Let's see, do spaces matter? Probably. Can I get this to work with spaces? Yeah, so it doesn't like that. And I think, so for example, if I wanted to be called Coach Space Parker, again, I talked about this in the beginning of class. In Linux, don't put spaces in file names. Because spaces separate things, and sometimes you don't want to separate things. So if I try to do that, it's probably going to error because it tried to run a command called Parker after it set the username there. Let's double check. It might have just errored on the whole thing. Yeah, it errored on the whole thing. So if I wanted my name to be Coach Space Parker, then I could use quotes around it. Probably. So you can escape. Yeah, so the backslash escapes things. Let's see, will that work? So let me just double check I got that right. Yeah, that worked. So let's suppose I get rid of the quotes and I escape the space with a backslash. That looks like that worked. Actually, let's make it more complicated. Yeah, backslash. So backslash is called an escape. And so what it does is it says whatever symbol comes next, treat it differently. So it's saying don't treat a space as a space in terms of how the command line usual works, treat it as a literal character called a space. Okay, what do I want to do next? I want to take a look at set again. So do set space pipe, and then let's bring it into less. And oh, not set. I wanted env, sorry. Do an env. Okay. So what I'm double checking is that variable in my environment right now? So I didn't see it there. Is it easy to miss something when you look? Yeah, so what should we use instead to look for something? Oh, we could use slash if we're in less. Yep, I was thinking at the command line, I could use grep would be another option. Yeah, so if I have this open, I could do slash and then type USER, which is one of the things I typed earlier. And I see it pop up in a few places. If I want to look for it again, I have to get out of the way and do a slash again. Right, so instead, I'm going to do env, pipe it to grep, and I'm going to grep for user. No, I'm going to grep for coach because I called myself coach. I want to see if that ended up in there. Not finding it. Is it in set? Oh, it ended up in set, but not env. Why? Good question. Because set and env keep track of different types of variables. So if we want that variable to be located in our environment, we have to export it to the environment. So I think it's just export and then your variable name. And we'll find out if I get this right. It didn't error. So now if I go back up to the env line, I should see it's now in my environment.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, there's different kinds of variables. There's shell variables, environmental variables, user-defined variables, and exported variables. So user-defined variables are not necessarily export them unless you specifically export them. Other thing is variables run in a script. When you run a script, by default, the script is run in its own shell, separate from the shell you're in. It's a shell within a shell. So variables defined in there are not going to be known to the outer shell. And sometimes user-defined variables in the outer shell are not going to be known to the script in the inner shell. Okay, so it's complicated. That's called scoping of variables. The scope of a variable is where and when is that variable accessible. And sometimes you want variables to be only accessible in this little small space and not outside of it for security reasons. Okay, so scope is an important idea in variables when you're playing around with this stuff.
Exactly are variables.
So all a variable is a marker for location and storage where you can put something. That's it. And you can put anything you want in that space, as long as it doesn't exceed that space. Yeah, so it's kind of like a file. A file is a place you can store something in the storage. A variable is similar. It's a marker in the storage where you're storing some information. Yeah, but it's in memory instead of in storage. Well, I guess it's both in memory and in storage. Yeah, so it's more quickly accessible.
So you're paranoid.
So if you have some important, a small amount of important information that you need to access quickly, a variable is a good place to put it rather than a file. because you can access it quicker. All right, that's it. We are done with that part of this assignment. Exit your script.
Woo. That was really fun.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna take a brief potty snack break, and then we're gonna write a shell script together. And then you're free to do whatever you want. So stop this recording.